If you're watching this video, you're probably a perfectionist, and you may be wondering how I am recovering from perfectionism. Well, let me tell you, it's been a perfect journey. That's a little perfectionist humor for ya. Perfectionism usually isn't as obvious as people try to tell you. It's usually really subconscious, as a lot of these things are built deep, deep, deep into our subconscious. Are you a perfectionist? Here are some signs. Number 1, being extremely hard on yourself. Number 2, stopping and starting your goals really intensely. Number 3, procrastination, avoiding doing things that you might mess up on or you might be uncomfortable with. Number 4, not making progress on your goals. Eventually, we all take a misstep on the way towards our goals, and that might mean, as a perfectionist, that you just get off the wagon and you feel like it's not even worth continuing. Number 5, you view failure as a hit to your self-worth, or you have a really high emotional reaction to failure. All these things will keep you stuck exactly where you are in life and will prevent you from growing as a person or whatever you're trying to become. Perfectionism is there to protect you, or at least try to protect you, from very uncomfortable emotions like shame, guilt, rejection, embarrassment, etc. Perfectionists usually come from high achievement households, and they also experienced a lot of criticism growing up. And when we are in a place that values our achievement, we can feel like our worth is based on the work that we do, which inherently means that we hyper obsess over the quality of work. Trying to make things that are good is beneficial, right? But it hurts us when it starts to hinder us from making any progress at all. But there is a way out. As a recovering perfectionist, I can tell you, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And here are some ways that I am conquering perfectionism one mistake at a time. My number 1 tip is to approach perfectionism with love. Perfectionism is a shame-based trait. Anytime we make a mistake or don't get a perfect grade or get rejected, it shames us into trying to be perfect, which is literally impossible. But perfectionism is a coping mechanism. It is there to try to keep us protected from these things. And you can't fight fire with fire. You can only fight fire with water, or maybe, I don't know, like whipped cream. That's just to say that you can't fight shame with shame. You have to fight shame with love, and you have to bring the shame into the light where you can see it and where you can see the perfectionism for what it is, something that's trying to keep you safe. Tell your perfectionism, thank you so much for trying to keep me safe. I really appreciate all that you're trying to do, but I'm gonna be okay. These emotions are going to be okay. I'm going to get through this, and we have ourselves. Be kind to yourself, and whatever you do, don't get mad at yourself and start getting upset with yourself and beating yourself down because you're a perfectionist. That's completely not what this is about at all. Are you ready? Do I look good? Do I look perfect? Number 2 is to get to the root. I grew up with people who were huge achievers in the academic world. My grandparents got out of poverty through education. And so I grew up with stories such as, the only B I got in high school, or the only B I got in college was that darn chemistry class. And we all know it was chemistry, because who likes chemistry? I also grew up with stories like, if you get a 32 on your ACT, then you will have beat your mother, so aim for that one. I don't know why my grandparents are British in my head. This definitely led me to put a lot of my worth and my value into the outcome of my academics. And I only discovered that through self-exploration and self-awareness, trying to figure out, okay, now that I see the patterns and the signs that I have this subconscious belief about perfectionism and that I have to do everything correct, where did it come from? And that's so important for you to figure out for yourself, because once you can bring it to the light, you can start actually addressing those subconscious beliefs and the things that led you to believe that. What messages, either from social media or your family or your friends, or from comparing yourself to the ideal version of yourself that you made up in your head, what are the messages that are making you feel like you cannot be a valuable human being like the rest of us? Man, I'm really cold. Oh, thanks, man. That's so nice of you.
Oh, it's perfect.
Okay, tip number 3 is to reframe your goals to focus on the task rather than the outcome. Let me explain. So, before, I totally would write a essay in like little portions. Okay, I would write the first sentence, be like, no, and then I would rewrite it, and then 3 hours later I had about 2 sentences. And let me just tell you, it was hard to write an essay that way. But it's a lot easier once you actually have words on the page, even if they're not perfect, even if they're not good. Subconsciously knowing that I was going to rewrite my first 2 sentences over and over because I didn't think they were perfect made me put off writing my essay until the last minute, which never really goes well, right? It's super stressful. But now I tell myself, okay, no blank pages. I love to say that. No blank pages, just start writing, and then you can always go back and fix things later. But the thing is to just start moving. I consistently use the term, it doesn't have to be good. This is something that is helping me so much to stop me from being in that freeze mode of perfectionism, to just start making baby steps and start being more willing to go after things that I don't feel comfortable doing. If you want to start going to the gym, you could tell yourself, oh, I have to go to the gym and I have to follow this powerlifting program and I have to do it perfectly and I have to go every single time, right on time, same time, every day, 6 a.m. Or you can tell yourself, my goal is to make it to the gym, period. People who go to the gym consistently don't force themselves, usually, to go and do something specific every single time and be perfect and do the exact reps and sets. No. The people who go to the gym for the rest of their lives are the people who have made it their identity to just go to the gym, even if they don't have a lot of time, because life happens and you're not always going to have the perfect circumstances. Reframing your goals to make it to be just what you actually want to do, not about the outcomes or the expectations of that thing, just doing the thing itself. But number 4 is to practice making mistakes. I felt so uncomfortable when I wrote that in my outline. Okay, so obviously I'm still a recovering perfectionist and not a recovered perfectionist. When you're a perfectionist, you might stay away from the things that you feel like you're not going to be good at. For example, I was really good in academics growing up,
but I stayed away from sports.
I quit dance, and when I failed my driving test 3 times, I had an emotional breakdown. And that makes sense because I only sought after things that I knew I was going to be good at. And that came from a lot of experience being rewarded for being perfect at things. But now that we're realizing that perfectionism is holding us back, we understand that mistakes are the only way to learn and grow and actually make progress on those things you want to make progress on. But you can't just put your entire foot in the water sometimes. Making mistakes for someone who is afraid of failure is a very scary thing, and it definitely can sometimes bring up a heavy emotional response. What I recommend and what I've been doing is practicing making mistakes, practicing putting yourself in places that are a little bit out of your comfort zone, and start with things that aren't so big and things that don't feel so important to you. Maybe the only thing you've ever cooked in your life is ramen noodles in your dorm room. No judgment. no judgment, but you could go and find a recipe on Pinterest and try to make it. And you don't know whether or not you're going to be a good cook, or maybe you know that you're not such a great cook right now, but you could just try and you can teach yourself slowly that mistakes aren't as scary as you thought that they were. And when you make them on things that aren't so important or so heavy, it will be easier for you to warm up and not be so afraid of failure. I am not great at making these videos yet, but I slowly started and I just kept going and I managed my expectations. When things didn't go well, I told myself that it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It doesn't have to be good. Perfectionism is not supposed to be your enemy. It's supposed to be there to protect you and shelter you from all of these really difficult emotions. And a lot of times these things are built into us from childhood. And so it's not your fault that you have been so afraid to step out of your comfort zone from now, but it is your responsibility to now learn to make mistakes in order to take control of the rest of your life. It's not an overnight process. Please do not be a perfectionist about going away from perfectionism. Ask yourself, why are other people allowed to be human, but you're not? Oh, wait. Oh, right, there's no answer because you're allowed to be human. You are a human. We're all imperfect. Comment down below if you have an experience with perfectionism. I know sometimes we can feel like we're alone, but I promise you're not abnormal for having these feelings. I challenge you to pick one thing this week that you don't think you're gonna be good at, something small, and attempt it. Try it. Give yourself full permission to be 100% terrible at this thing. Life is so much more beautiful with our imperfections. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does support me and my channel. I love you, I believe in you, and I'll see you in the next one.